Welcome to the RGG EDU podcast, where they talk a little photography and drink a lot of whiskey.
Season 3 of the RGG EDU podcast is brought to you by Smug Mug. Yeah, they got a ridiculous grin and the name is funny, but Smug Mug is serious about photography. If you're ready to upgrade your photo game online, get your ass over to smugmug.com to see where the pros are storing, showing, and selling their images.
In this episode of the RGG EDU podcast, we are joined with the Dark Knight and the Queen of Photography Education, Chris Knight and Lindsay Adler. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. How do you guys like those titles, by the way? BT dubs.
Oh, I'll totally keep it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
It's good.
It's good. So we have just wrapped.
Happy to be here.
We have just wrapped an entire week of shooting with Chris Knight, where we took his book and turned it into a tutorial.
How do you feel? After a week of teaching, how do you feel?
I'm exhausted, but great.
Yeah.
Very happy with how everything came out, and I produced some of my favorite images I think I've ever made. So
Good.
it was a great experience all around. It was a good teaching experience. It was a good opportunity to just really shoot some cool stuff.
I'm really curious about this teaching process because it's very different from what you do when you're teaching classes, right? Because it's all on film. But Lindsay, this is something that you are a veteran at and now seeing the way we work. I'm just kind of interested in both of your opinions on this type of tutorial and this process, this method of getting your thoughts out to the audience.
I have twofold. One from the side of someone actually teaching it and then someone from the side watching it. One of the reasons that I think the way that you structure things is very effective is that probably the most profound insights I've ever had into the photographic process has been by assisting people. Like I'd learned from reading books and I'd learned a bit from school, but when I watched a professional photographer work, that's when there's all these things you never knew started to click.
Right.
So I think that's kind of a lot of how you guys structure. It's basically what an assistant would do. You're peeking in behind the scenes and trying to anticipate, I wonder if they're going to move that light next. So I think that is very cool because it's a different type of education than exists in a lot of other places. As an educator, it's super hard to turn your brain on to be able to explain when you're in the groove of things. Because although I do teaching and I do shooting, a lot of times it's not like on my big, really creative shoots, the teaching brain's turned off and I'm just rolling a million miles a minute. And the pauses, I feel like, oh, crap, I'm going to break my flow. So it's challenging, but in the bigger picture, it's interesting to have to articulate what you're thinking through because then you're realizing what you're doing.
Right. It is hard to teach while you're actually creating the images, which I think is a huge challenge when you're doing a tutorial like this. But you got some of the best images I think you've shot in a little while. I think you're pretty happy with this.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. There is definitely a switch over, and it does take a little bit of getting used to if you're not already used to it, which is the concept of articulating what you're doing out loud as you go. And even though I am a little bit used to it, it still took me a little bit to get into that groove and really just, you just have to think out loud.
I think you get excited too. You get so excited if you really like the images that you just want to click more.
Why do you guys teach?
I teach for several reasons. The grand reason is I really like my life. I really like shooting, and I want people to be able to reach their goals more quickly. It took me forever to take a photograph that I would be proud to show somebody now. Like I've been shooting about 16 years. I don't think I took what I would still today call a great photograph until 10 years in. I would like to save people some of that effort, and help them get to that faster.
Yeah, I think the lack of selfishness is one of the key things. So many people want to keep what they do under lock and key because they're worried about other people coming in and taking from them. I think that's the total wrong mentality to go about it. I think, you talk about this, Lindsay, which is the idea of generosity and reciprocity. And, because we are both more so in the educational realm, that's just such an important characteristic in terms of how we facilitate most of our decisions in the world, which is you want people to learn, because if they're not, what are we even doing here?
So I really like that phrase, generosity and reciprocity. I think it means a lot. And the idea of paranoia is something I was actually just having this conversation a couple of weeks ago with another photographer friend of mine. And I think that the world of online teaching is starting to break that cycle of paranoia that has been in the photographic world forever. There was such a long period of time where people did not want to share because they were afraid of grooming the competition and giving things away.
Exactly.
Now the reverse is happening. People want to share because they want to make the business better as a whole.
Yeah, and I have my feeling on it is if you are thinking you have a couple secrets that if you share, then everyone's going to be as good as you, you better step up your game. Like it shouldn't be one lighting trick that
exactly.
you do that makes you the good photographer.
Sure.
And I think by constantly, for me, having me sharing all the time, it's always pushing me to figure out something new. Like what is my next trick? But yeah, that better not be the only reason you're successful.
Yeah. Also, as soon as you become complacent with your thing, if that's your thing, then I mean you're over your cresting, and it's downhill from there. So I think that's an absolutely great point, which is by putting something out there and creating something new, then it forces you to move on and create something additionally.
Totally.
That's new.
How long have the two of you been collaborating? Because you guys worked really well together on set. I mean, you definitely have a similar mind, a similar aesthetic.
Have I been on set with you before, besides when you shot me?
A couple times, not often.
Yeah.
Was this the first major time you guys were on set
Yeah. Well,
in this capacity?
I think so. We talk
Another
about,
RGG EDU first, Rob Grimm.
Oh, wow.
Boom.
Congratulations.
Counted.
Congratulations, guys. Well done.
We talk about
Also,
photography.
congratulations about the hot dogs.
Oh, right. Yeah. In case you don't know, the hot dog was invented here in St. Louis. It was debuted here in St. Louis in the 1904 World's Fair. That was a fact that...
You know what else was?
What?
The waffle cone.
Yeah.
Boom.
And-
you know how? Side fact?
What?
Because the person that was selling ice cream cones ran out of cones, and the guy that was selling waffles had plenty of them.
Because who
Collaboration.
wanted a waffle?
Collaboration.
Nobody wanted a waffle.
And now
Nobody likes waffles when it's hot.
And now the Adler Night collaboration. So good work, St. Louis.
Yes. Slow clap
Oh,
for
man.
St. Louis.
Wow.
Slow clap for St. Louis.
My response to you guys was that we talk about photography nonstop. I mean, we talk about other things, but photography comes to the
mostly
forefront.
that, yeah.
And I know we share the way we think about lighting and image making is very similar. And I understand how he shoots. I guess I've seen you once or twice shoot, but I've never been in assistant role like I was this week.
How often
I've
do you guys
assisted you.
collaborate?
He assisted me, yeah.
How often do you guys collaborate with other people? Like, does that happen much, or do you turn to peers for advice and for
Do you
reviews?
mean like a team, or do you?
No, I just mean in terms of talking through your thought processes, talking through what it is you want to create, the things that you want to do. Do you turn to other photographers and say, "Hey, how do I execute this?" Or do you turn to them in post and say,
Oh,
hey,
I definitely
what
do.
do you think of this work?
Yeah, I've got a few people that I teach with who are really great resources for that, and it's knowing your strengths and knowing other people's strengths is incredibly valuable, because you got someone who's better than you at something, whether it's concept or history. And yeah, I mean, with the dramatic portrait book, there were definitely a couple of periods in history. I'm an art historian hobbyist, so I went to people who are experts at it. I said, "Hey, look over this, double check my facts,
Right.
make sure I didn't screw anything up." By all means, yeah, you got to get over ego and thinking that you have to be in control of every conceivable element. It's good to make those decisions, but also know when it's good to ask for the opinion of someone else. But you just have to be aware of that person's strengths and if they are actually good at it.
This book was a pretty big deal for you.
For me, yeah, it's my
Yeah,
first book.
Right. And when did you decide that you had to do this?
I'd always wanted to do a book. It was kind of a bucket list item for me. And about a year ago, I met with the guys at Rocky Nook and pitched a couple of ideas, and this was the one they went with, and spent the last year writing it on weekends. A lot of times, Lindsay and I would write it side by side on weekends. She's doing her posing book, and I did this, and we just kind of hammered it out together and would bounce ideas off as we went, and it really worked pretty well.
So what was the other book? You had other ideas.
The other book that I pitched was it was a little bit more conceptual, which was the idea of taking different stylistic movements through art history and translating them into photography. When I was in college, I took this class, which was, I think it was technically an English credit, but for nerds, for like computer nerds, like techie nerds, because I minored in computer science when I was in college. And
What'd you major in?
Was that actually in the course guide?
What?
For nerds?
for nerds, yes.
Good.
FN is the
Yes.
abbreviation on
Ah,
that.
yeah, right.
I majored in broadcast journalism, but I minored in computer science. And they offered this English credit, which was kind of this combination of digital media and English. It wasn't really an English class. It just kind of fulfilled a credit. But it was basically translating classic ideas into modern forms. And we would dissect like the Joseph Campbell hero and how you'd see all of these stories get repurposed and reused over time. And then how do you take these stories and retranslate into something new? Shakespeare worked for Shakespeare, and it also works presently. And we see different incarnations of the
Shakespeare
stories
used
he
other
tells.
people's stories
Exactly.
over and over and over again.
Exactly. So like for that class, we had to do something with symbolism, and we basically had to take a classic idea and turn it into a comic book, because that was the modern interpretation of that particular story. And I was always fascinated by the idea of, let's take a classic story and reimagine it in a modern telling, which is kind of what we did with one of the shoots in the tutorial, where we took a classic painting and reimagined it in a modern setting. It was that same idea, but we kind of put our own little spin on it. And that was kind of what the book was. Let's take different movements and translate it into modern tellings of photography. So we would take sculpture and we would translate sculpture into photography, or we would take the Baroque period and turn that into photography. That was kind of the initial pitch, but a little bit complicated for a first book. And so we went with the dramatic portrait, which had a little bit more marketability, and I think was probably the right decision.
But I think the point that he made just there, that he took a random English credit class, that if you actually look at what the class was, I think it changed who he is and his art today. And he would have never have thought about it, because it's reflected so much of what he does is that a modern take on old paintings or traditional art. And so, I mean, my point is, this is one of the reasons that I know we both try to expose ourselves constantly to other things, whether it's other education or whether it's a documentary or whether it's going to the museum, because you don't know what that catalyst that could completely change the way that you see yourself, your work, photography in general can be. It comes from unexpected
what was the
places.
catalyst for you? He had this random, for nerds English class.
Sure.
What was your catalyst?
So I did actually go to school for photography and business. And I took this class that, it wasn't a shooting class. It was basically a history of photography class, but specifically the history of fashion photography. And I liked the teacher. He was very much a storyteller, so I knew it would be kind of an easy class. And I saw the images, and I was never a fashionado. Like that's not, I'm not a fashionista. I'm not, fashion itself is not what I'm passionate about. And so when I took the class and all of a sudden fashion images came up, I hadn't really ever studied them before on my own. And I remember that feeling of going, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I didn't think it was fashion photography, because I wasn't passionate about fashion itself.
Right. That's a pretty good feeling to all of a sudden go, whoa, this is what I need to do.
It's also a pretty nice jacket for someone who's not a fashionista.
Thank you,
badass.
French connection. Thank you. Well, no, but I mean, I developed it as well, though, because as I started looking at more fashion images, I started to figure out what aesthetics appealed to me and why. And I just remember I kind of felt like in fashion photography, I'm like, this is the culmination of what great images are, because it was beautiful posing and storytelling and concept and styling and use of color. Like every single element was always thought through for a greater purpose. And I loved that. And I wasn't ever attracted to fine art photography. For me personally, I always loved the merger of, and you've mentioned this in some of your videos, of art and commerce. That's exactly what attracted me, because I loved photography as a challenge of achieving a goal, because I too was a nerd and I liked problem solving and I liked school. Oh, what? I usually hide it well.
Let's face it, you both are a little nerdy. It's just
Oh,
the
yeah.
way it is.
Yeah,
It's
no,
okay.
totally. You should hear our regular dinner time conversation.
It's just really.
So, Lindsay, I'm curious.
Really
You said it took about 10 years before you really found the beat. What was your early work like? What were you doing in those 10
Terrible.
years?
This is bad.
Yeah,
But I think that's
I think
great.
we all say that. I mean, my
No, it's-
early portfolios got to look and I'm like, oh wow.
If you look at your early
terrible.
work and you say, yeah, I was onto something, most of the time it's because you're not better now.
Right. So you should go into dry cleaning or something.
I mean, I did.
Dry cleaning's hard, Rob. Have you ever tried that? That's
No.
a complicated business.
Is it?
A lot of ins, a lot of outs. Like,
Like, what kind of cleaning is happening back there with no chemicals? There's got to be something. I know, right?
yeah, there's nothing dry about it.
What's the
Common
deal?
misconception. What's the deal with dry cleaning?
They got to have some kind of chemicals
That's
back there.
pretty good, actually.
Oh my gosh.
So
I don't even know
last
what the
night
question
at
was.
dinner, we were talking about Seinfeld. Greatest show ever? Ever quickly. Yes or no?
Yeah, I think it could be for the simple fact that it had nothing going on that everybody could relate to. It was so simple, and it never lost its edge. I don't think. I think it kept getting better.
Yeah, I
is it the greatest show ever? I don't know.
Is that a fool's errand to try and
Yeah,
classify something into a greatest show?
I think you have to
The
give it
greatest thing ever?
parameters because is it the greatest show ever in terms of lighting? Hell no. You know, is the cinematography good on it? No, because there isn't any. It's
That's
just
not what
you know.
dictates the good show.
Right, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. You have to put parameters
the
on
intro
it
music.
to decide.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
That show 100% still holds up today.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
The
It's great.
only thing that dates it is the lack of the cell phone.
Right.
But I mean, like,
Yeah, some of the clothes.
yeah, but I mean,
Right.
the things they talk about, 100% still
Right.
hold up today.
That's why it's such a good show because everybody relates to it. It holds up. Here we go. We're totally,
Yeah, totally.
Next thing you know, we're going to go Beatles or Stones.
right,
welcome
which
to,
is
welcome
no
to the
question.
Seinfeld podcast.
I know his is.
Yeah, mine too.
All right, so back.
Or maybe. Are you Stones or Beatles? Because I'm Beatles all the way.
Man, I'm Beatles.
He's definitely Beatles.
Nice.
I'm Beatles, but I still love the Stones.
I love
I'm,
the Stones
I'm
too,
neither.
but-
I'm neither. It's Led Zeppelin.
You can't join this conversation.
It's Led
So
Zeppelin.
okay, so there is this theory that most people are either Beatles or Stones fans.
Led
most-
Zeppelin, Stones, then Beatles.
No. Let me finish. So most people,
I'm sorry. I
Most people are-
apologize, Chris Knight.
it's okay. Most people are either Beatles or Stones fans. That's the main delineation, right? Then people are either Zeppelin fans or the Who fans.
No, the
Don't
Who's not.
forget
The Who's
ABBA.
not even in my top 10 of classic rock.
that's a split for a
They're
lot
not
of
even
people.
in my top 10 of classic rock.
Really?
Yeah, definitely not.
Who's pretty amazing.
I mean, Who's great?
I would have Pink Floyd or the Doors way before the Who.
I saw The Who the day I graduated from college in my college stadium. That was a pretty awesome night.
I was supposed to see the Who at Desert Trip, but then
Right.
my sister got married.
Yeah, she kind of messed it
Yeah,
up for
she-
both of us,
We
actually.
were
what a
both.
jerk.
I know.
We were going to bring the whole team.
I know.
We got tickets for the whole studio, and then my sister goes and gets married. And on top of that, she asked me to guess.
Photograph it?
Shoot it?
Oh,
no.
man.
And guess
And
what?
I-
What
guess
did
what?
he say?
Didn't.
Guess what he
And
said?
guess what?
He said yes?
Yes.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
even shoot weddings. It was the most stressful day of my life. It was terrible.
That's why I should have said no.
You should have seen it. So we're in this like park in San Francisco, and she's supposed to get married during the day,
Francisco's
but it's raining. So then all of a sudden the wedding's at night, and it's in the park, and it's pitch black. I have a Para 88 on an extension cord in the middle of the woods, like 100-foot extension cord. I got Para 88. I got all sorts of models.
But it
In
gets
the middle
better.
of the
Doesn't
woods.
To be
the
fair-
cops show up and people get shot?
Yeah. So yeah,
Para 88 is the wedding photographer's lighting modifier.
Yeah, right?
Choice.
I know, what is this?
So
Obviously,
then-
he's got a lot of experience
on
shooting
top of
weddings.
this, on top of this, we had just kind of finished rapping with Jake Hicks, so like gel photography was now in my repertoire, right? So I'm like, okay, after the ceremony, I'm gonna like set up this gel lighting like on the front patio, and it's gonna be great. Like all the guests are gonna get like gel lighting. So I start setting up this whole studio, and all of a sudden these cops start like come into the park, and like these are like big trucks. They're not like cop cars.
SWAT team.
It's like
SWAT
SWAT
tanks.
So they get out and they have M16s. Half the guys are in camouflage. They're like, everybody get inside. I'm like, holy shit. So someone had just shot a cop. And now he was in the park within like 100 feet of us. Somewhere hiding in the trees and it's dark.
Did you say, hold up?
Yeah.
I'm trying to shoot Jake Hicks
Yeah,
color
I'm
gel
like, I got
portraiture
enough
right now.
stress right now. Now I got cops. So they shut my whole photo booth down.
Oh,
Now
no.
I'm inside, limited to just a camera, speed light, and then just like everyone like packed inside of a
A
How
speed
did-
light being a
how
pair
did
of
you sh-
88.
Yeah, how did you shoot the wedding portraits on a pair of 88?
Well, a few hours passed, and then we were able to go back on.
Okay.
Set, but they killed the guy. So.
Wow, this guy
What a
real
wedding
dark.
day.
It was one hell of
crazy
a wedding day.
Crazy wedding.
It worked out. I ended up just doing simple, non-gelled, classic portraits. It was great.
We
One light.
totally digressed.
Anyway,
Rabbit hole.
I don't know where. Well,
That we
Anyway.
went from the Who to your sister's wedding at Cops. It's crazy.
yeah, I don't know, man. So back to this week, Chris.
Okay.
I want to back up.
That was a good segue. Well done. You've done this before.
I'm a professional podcaster. So I want to go back. I'm curious. Did you practice the photo shoots that you had drawn out? That had been something you wanted to do for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Did you practice lighting them, or did you just already know it? Did you know what you were going to do?
I mean,
You got to be honest.
to be honest, I've never lit like that before. Not 100%, because it was so specific to the scene. Conceptually, yeah, a million times. But that's really the whole point. Is when doing stuff like that, it's not necessarily about coming with this formula that absolutely has to work for this particular scene. It's adaptable. It's this organic thing that needs to work for whatever it is you happen to be doing at the time. So there's a scalability. And that's kind of the biggest takeaway that I don't really want to get lost on people, which is, although I'm using scrims and 10 modifiers or whatever the case may be, it's not really about that, because I use the same ideas, the same process when I'm shooting in a 8x8 space. I shoot in a room that's 8 feet by 8 feet, probably 80% of the time, maybe a little bit less, but often. And it's the same principles that are applied. It's just the scalability. So when I want to light a room or I want to light this scene, I just increase the size of the modifier, but the concept remains the same. The way I'm approaching it is exactly the same. I just make a bigger modifier. And like an 8-foot modifier happens to be the right big modifier because it's relative for what I'm used to using. So that's really the big thing is, and then once you know that you can do that, it becomes universally applicable no matter what you need to apply it to. Yes, I've shot with scrims before. Yes, I've shot with grids before. Yes, I've created a similar lighting setup in a certain scene. But no, this was totally unique, and that's the point. It should be unique, that it's appropriate to what you're doing, not going in with something that has to fit this pre-configured idea of what your lighting needs to look like.
Yeah, I think it's great that you came and you pushed yourself and you tackled some stuff that you've been wanting to do for a while. You didn't come in with the mentality of, all right, I'm going to teach this. It's rote. I'm going to get it out there.
And then when you understand your tools, when you understand a light, it's just you're able to pre-visualize it. I know what it's going to look like.
Right.
And then you just have to make the equipment do that.
I know I've got a notebook filled with a million ideas. Sometimes it's taken me even a decade to get an idea from that notebook actually onto a piece of film.
Feels
What's called
good,
film.
though.
It feels really good. So how much of your work do you pre-visualize in the sense that it's gonna take a couple of years to come to fruition? I want from both of you. I'd love both of you to talk about your creative process in terms of planning, thinking, and then finally getting it out there.
Yeah, so I am not planning exactly how an image will look, but I have an overall concept, and I have a constantly changing and modifying list of things, of images, of concepts I have to shoot someday, like things I need to do. And so actually I'm going to be doing one at a location that I discovered last year that I said, I have to shoot at this location. So I planned ahead, and then a year later, I'm finally shooting that. But I would say at any given time, I have actually made probably about 6 to 10 mood boards. So mood boards, inspiration images, and I have them in a folder on my desktop. And there are times where I quickly come up with another idea, I build that mood board, I store it there. And then later I realize, maybe there's another one that I'm bored of, and I take it out. But it's kind of a constantly changing. And then when I shoot them, it's always fascinating to see how similar or how completely different they are, because it always evolves. So I know for his third shot, for his tutorial, when I said to him, I said, I can you explain what you're doing? I have no idea what your concept's going to be. He knew exactly. He knew where people were going to be placed. He knew the types of light, and he had really thought through it. Most of the time, mine are much more fluid than that.
But there's also a lot of bit of fluidity in my approach. So it really depends. The third shoot was something that I had planned for a long time. It's part of a much bigger project. There's another shoot I'm planning that'll probably be finished by the time this comes out, where I'm doing a Saint Sebastian, and I'm doing the classic and I'm doing the modern take on it. And it's something that I've had for a long time, but it was a matter of getting all the pieces to fit together and investing a little bit into that. But when you would look at like the first image, we had, for example, we had all the time to plan it out, and we did to a degree. But then there were things that were like, hey, what if we throw this in? Mm-hmm. And we did that on the day. And it totally changed how it looked. Mm-hmm. We had a couple of elements. It was like, hey, let's throw this in. Let's throw this in. And that totally changed how it was going to be. So, and I had a vague idea about what like the first shoot was going to be. And then that's kind of like the process. The first one was really vague. I kind of was like, well, it's kind of going to feel like this. And it did. Mm-hmm. And the second image was a little bit more focused. And Lindsay and I had talked about this. She's like, oh man, based on your inspiration images, I knew exactly like the way you'd pulled everything together in your
the first and second ones. I knew exactly what his shots would look like.
Your styling, everything else. I knew exactly what it was going to look like.
So for the people that don't know, like let's describe the shoots that we did,
okay,
so people have a frame of reference.
So the first shoot, we basically tried to create something that was your Vanity Fair / Hollywood Reporter sort of a celebrity shoot, which was, we got great clothes, tux and a sequiny dress, and great hair and makeup, and we wanted to make it feel like Hollywood, old Hollywood. We had a Fresnel in the back, creating haze, and the flash against the haze machine.
And that damn hazer, which everybody loves.
Oh,
amazing.
man.
Bought one.
Everyone loves a haze machine.
Yeah. Studio's never been so foggy.
Oh my! But it looks great.
It looked like a Saturday night in here.
We've been
seen a disco ball.
It made talking hard for all of it, but it's worth it.
Totally.
100% worth it. But that was the haze machine, last minute edition, that made all the difference in the world because we used it all 3 days.
Right.
We literally got it the morning of day one.
Same with the Fresnel.
Yeah.
Which that's something that's really important, to be open to trying something you haven't done before and to be willing to adjust immediately and say, you know what, I got this idea, I got to try it. Let's see what happens. And it turns out, sometimes it turns out amazing.
And so, and again, for the second shoot, which we did this Don Quixote themed, story-driven set of images, we had the horse prop, which we had in a few different varieties, and it went through like 3 or 4 different incarnations of how are we going to go with this directionally. And I shot 2 or 3 different versions of it because I didn't quite know how it was going to go. And I had a preferred method once we got Sean from RGG in there and kind of moved it on. I was like, it would just kind of work. And that was definitely like the right.
Should we put him on the spot and bring him out here right now? Oh my God! Yeah, let's special guest coming out right now.
No, he's
Sean
so
Kirkland.
good.
Yeah,
no,
come
he's
out here, the director of this tutorial.
All right, Sean, come on, join us.
Coming out, but come out here and talk about it. I'll take your spot.
I love the giggle.
Your giggle.
Yeah. Hi, Shawnee.
They always do this to me.
Yeah. It's good for you, though. It promotes growth.
Sean, you were incredibly helpful this week, and you did a great
You're
job.
awesome.
Well, thank you.
And a model twice.
Yeah, that was fun. First time actually being in an image
Look
of
at
one of our
you.
instructors.
Look at you, bucket list.
You were incredibly stable with the Red Bull can on your head, and you didn't move. It was great.
Yeah, Chris
Just
actually
fortitude.
nailed a Red Bull can off my head with a Nerf gun.
I didn't
from
see
That
about
was a high-powered Nerf gun.
18,
No, I'm-
18 feet away.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
it's
really bummed I
impressive.
missed that.
The key was he was like, cover your face, protect your face in case I hit your face.
And
And
you
I just
said
said, no, I trust you. Let's do
Which
this.
was a
Which
mistake.
is a terrible idea.
Apparently it
Worked
wasn't.
out.
It worked out well.
Never had a doubt.
I did.
Oh man.
That's funny.
Now what was our segue here?
They
I
just
don't know.
wanted to embarrass me.
Yeah,
Oh,
we just
okay.
want to embarrass him. But you know what? I want to embarrass you guys. I want to ask you, what about your process, what about you as a person, as an individual, is your greatest weakness as a photographer, as an image creator?
So I have a weakness that I am very aware of and I'm always trying to work on. And we actually had kind of mentioned this at lunch that I struggle with decisiveness and trusting my own instincts. Because I try to surround myself with people that are experts, people that have been doing it much longer than me, or have more credentials than me. And that might be the hairstylist, the makeup artist, an art director, a set designer. And so a lot of times when you're surrounded by these people, it's hard not to let them take over the shoot or let them influence the direction. And so it's hard to be the captain of the ship. And so one of my weaknesses is second guessing myself and looking too much to other people when most of my favorite images are ones where I stood up and I made the decisions and I was decisive, and I'm trying to force myself to do that more.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most difficult decisions, or the most difficult points for any photographer. It is when you've got a team around you and you're relying on them for their expertise, for whatever sector they're coming in for, whether it's a food stylist or a hair and makeup stylist, whatever expertise, you need to rely on them and you need to collaborate with them. But at the same time, you can't give up too much control, because then you lose sight of the image and nobody knows what the direction is. And it has to be your direction, your vision at the end of the day.
Yeah, and so what's that balance? And that's so
It's hard.
difficult. And I've worked through other challenges before, but that's the one that I'm struggling with right now. And I know that I'm being acutely aware of it. And I think that's one of the things that photographers try to do is try to actually be aware of what your weaknesses are, because then you can improve them. So what is it? And that's why reaching out with, being involved in groups that give you critique, or for me, I was never much of a group critique person, but finding a photographer I actually admire and I actually respect to ask for their opinion, because when it's someone you don't admire or respect, or some random person in a Facebook group, which Facebook groups are great.
Unsolicited critique.
Like, so when it's a random person, the critique it might be completely valid, but then you can go, who the hell is that? Like, I'm not going to take that person's critique. But when it's someone that you actually respect, then you've got to take a step back and look to it. And so you'd actually mentioned this before about collaborating. I mean, Chris and I, we are both each other's final check before an image goes online. Or we send each other a group of 10 different images. Which one do you like better?
Right.
Well, I do the 10 images. You do like the 3. You're more selective.
I shoot less.
Yeah, you shoot a lot less.
I shoot fewer pictures.
So, Chris, what's your weakness?
Mine is probably overthinking things and thinking, hey, it's not just quite ready yet, and which is kind of a second guessing myself. But the third shoot we had, I had in my back pocket for a long time, but it's part of a much bigger selection of images, bigger group of images that I've not shot anything for yet, because it's just kind of like
So do you think it's a risk for you to create an image and put it out there when you
I don't know
feel
if it's necessarily a risk, because I was really happy with how it came out, and I knew how it was going to turn out. It was just it's part time and it's part financing. To cheat for yourself, it's tough to really to know what you want it to look like, and when you don't have the capability to invest the time and budget into something that is going to be like, it needs to be at a certain level, and if you can't get it there without a certain investment, it's kind of like, well, why do I want to do it? Because I know what it could be, but I gotta make it right. And I want to make it right. There's a perfectionist part of me that always wants to make it right.
That's a common thread for all photographers. It's being perfectionist. It's OCD. It's like, how do I live with what I've done?
Right. And I don't want to sacrifice.
But
something
you love what you've done,
right? But I don't want to sacrifice certain qualities if I can help it. And so I'll just wait a little bit longer, and then it becomes a time thing.
And time gets away for you.
Exactly.
And then it never happens.
Exactly.
Sean Kirkland, I'm not leaving you out of this. What's your greatest weakness?
Well, before I tell you my greatest weakness,
Okay.
I just wanted to comment on something about what Chris was saying. He was actually very decisive on set, like boom, boom.
I'm super impressed.
And so if he's saying that that's a weakness, that's got to be a result of him just planning that well and just having that much attention into the project ahead of time. Because when it came time to pick that chandelier for that shot, he looked at all the choices and said, that one, walked away.
Yeah, I think he's saying it's
looked at
coming
it again.
earlier. I think it's coming for you earlier in the thought process before you actually get to the execution. You get hung up in the thought process.
Yeah, but I also don't think that's necessarily a bad thing in totality, because you think through it. You're not just making a decision because it's arbitrary. It's got to percolate. It's got to really develop and ferment. And I think if you have a set of images and you're really anxious to run back and work on them, that is going to influence your decision. As opposed to if you sit on those images for a week or two and then you go back and revisit them, you're going to have a different interpretation of it.
Absolutely.
And so it's the same thing with the ideas and the decision making. So maybe it'll come to me and I'm like, okay, well, this and this. And then I'll come back to it a little bit later and think, well, what if I tweak it a little bit more and go this direction? And then I have people, I'll go, hey, what do you think about this? Does this make sense to you? Does this clearly articulate? When I have the stuff that's complex, like the shoot 3, like that was conceptually complex.
But you never explained what it was yet.
Oh, should we do that?
Oh yeah, we
Okay.
didn't. Yeah, we glossed over that.
So shoot 1 was the old Hollywood Vanity Fair, old Hollywood Reporter style. Shoot 2 was the character portrait. We did Don Quixote, which was that personal story for me. It was about, we'll watch the tutorial. The third one was taking a painting by Caravaggio and reinterpreting it in a modern telling. And we took Caravaggio's Nativity and we did a modern interpretation of it, which was a commentary on celebrity culture. And we turned the Nativity into a scene with a Kim and Kanye lookalike.
That turned out to be great. I was really impressed by that. I will admit that I didn't quite know where it was going to go.
Nobody did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me neither.
Everybody was
Really?
like, no.
I feel like I
can say this
explained it
now.
pretty well.
I can say this now that the image is
Sean,
such a
I thought you
huge
had my back on
success.
this.
No, I did, but generally
did.
when I would explain it to people, I would say this is kind of his idea, and people would say, "Okay, like I'm not sure I fully understand."
Does it
And
make
when-
sense now?
When it started,
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, good.
coming together, everyone's jaw just dropped,
Right.
and it's a
See,
it's a
it's
sick image.
not that people didn't have faith; they just couldn't. They couldn't see that vision that you had, and that's what we were talking about earlier. It's really hard to articulate your vision and get the whole team on board, and you still have to drive that bus, right? You had a very clear vision for this, and I think a lot of people in the studio around us were just like not quite sure how it was going to come together. I know when I started looking at those images, I was like, "Holy cow!" The connection that it had for me to pop culture, but also to the historical aspect, to the painter, to the world of art history, I was like, yeah, that's got a heartbeat.
That was what was so great about Caravaggio is as a painter, he was taking these classic stories like the Nativity and he was telling them in modern ways with modern
Right.
people and modern clothing. And so I wanted to kind of reinterpret that idea and say,
Right.
all right, well, let's tell it in our modern way based on
Right, modern
him.
way, but for him, like when we look at that now, that's antiquity for us, right?
Right.
But it was
Exactly.
a modern way for him.
Right.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, Gary's coming
we're
back.
losing Shawnee Sean.
Here to serve.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh,
You're really working for that 20%.
I work hard for the money.
Yeah.
welcome back, Gary Martin.
Oh, I'm back.
Did you enjoy your siesta on the couch?
Sean, I just want to thank you for just jumping in there. I really wanted to bring him in because he was a lot of the creative behind this. He took Chris's book, really dissected it,
He
read
did.
the whole thing, and really obsessed over that book and stressed over that book.
Sorry.
For so long. And it was great to see the whole thing kind of come together, and it was great to see how his mind works in terms of how he broke down the sections and how like that tutorial structure comes together. That's shot like a live action.
Sean did a really tremendous
Yeah.
job with all that and building the curriculum around the book in a way that felt like an extension of the book. I think each of them stand on their own, but they work better together.
There's still a lot more in the book.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we couldn't even get to.
The book goes into depth on a lot of things that we don't, and then we go into more depth and we really expand on a lot of the concepts in the way that the book can't. Because the book is meant to be a little bit more accessible, especially breaking down common concepts and core components. And then even the lighting techniques and stuff are quite a bit more simple in the book. And then the video tutorial takes those as a starting place and then ramps it up to 11.
This one goes to 11.
up
I would say our tutorials go to 11.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it does. And that was, I think,
Lindsay, can you do a good British accent?
No.
Come on, we should try
She's not
that.
even going to try it.
I can do Harry Potter.
Yes,
accent.
do the Harry Potter.
No,
then. Hermione or like
Yeah, I'd be
Harry
like-
Potter?
I don't know. Be like.
You got this. Come on.
But give me something to say.
that always goes up to 11.
Yeah,
No,
say
but
Harry.
I can't do that.
You can.
Not with that
was
attitude.
Taylor. That was in Harry Potter.
I know that that's not the case. I've actually never seen that movie.
Spinal Tap?
Yeah, I've never
Oh
seen
my
it.
God.
I knew what it was from.
my
I knew what it was.
Fired.
I knew it was from.
Fired.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
It's
Chris,
classic.
you failed. You failed.
I have. Chris has built me a list of easily 50 movies that he cannot believe I haven't seen yet. So
That's usually
All
my
right, so
reaction.
what are the top 5?
that I haven't seen yet. Vertigo is one. Come on, help me out.
Break it down. There's many movies you haven't seen that you should.
Just one top 5. What
Okay,
should everybody
so
see?
you
Top
said-
5, Chris Knight. Put it
Okay,
out there right
everybody,
now.
not just me. So
Top 5 movies everyone should
Yes,
see, just
everyone.
in general.
just in general.
Yes.
My favorite movie is Blazing Saddles.
Oh God.
Favorite movie
yes.
all time?
Favorite movie all time, Blazing Saddles.
And tell me what we
And
did.
so
That's a
I
great
took
one.
her to Mel Brooks at Radio City Music Hall. It was a Q&A and a screening of Blazing Saddles.
Oh my God.
and he
It
was
was-
a riot.
it was
my
one
Oh
of
gosh.
my God, that's awesome.
The highlights of my life.
Yeah, that's cool.
He had so much energy, and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like 90 something, and he was just playing to the crowd and so energetic, and man, he was inspiring because you see someone who's truly passionate about what they've devoted
Yeah.
their life to, and you could see it, and he had just as much energy now as he probably had 50 years
And
ago.
it was right after Gene Wilder passed away.
2 days.
It was like a day
Oh,
or two after
wow.
Gene
2
Wilder
days,
passed
yeah.
away.
Great movie. I'm with you on that.
Oh, that's
With
my
you.
favorite movie.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
I don't know.
You said
I'll
what's
tell you
the-
my favorite movie is Blade Runner.
All right,
great
Ridley
movie.
Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're coming out with a new one. which is
100%
crazy.
holds up.
I've seen that thing a million
Yeah,
times.
yeah, I've seen that
Still
many
good.
times.
It's amazing.
I can tell you a couple others. So Citizen Kane was one that he told me to watch that I didn't realize that I liked old movies because I assumed
Citizen
old
Kane's
men. And then
incredible.
I saw Citizen Kane and my jaw was dropping the
Yeah,
entire
the light.
time.
I mean, it's
And the
insane.
movement, the camera movement.
Yeah.
I was most taken by the light, but I think that's
And think of the
particularly
period.
me.
Think of when that was executed. I mean, that's
Stunning.
Anything Hitchcock. I mean, Hitchcock is my jam, especially when it comes to telling story through color. He was amazing. Vertigo, is a great
It's funny
example
because I
of
don't
that.
think of Hitchcock, and I don't think when I think Hitchcock, I don't think color.
Well, he was one
Right.
of those people who could
I don't either. I
who
think
could
black
do
and white.
the he did the Sixth Sense, right? Sixth Sense. The M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan movie. He would do the Sixth Sense stuff with color because Shyamalan would
red.
He would do red, right?
Yeah.
But he would do it to a much more complex degree. It was the same idea. So he would use color association to say, okay, well, this person is going to be associated with this color constantly, right? And then he would change it, and you would have a reaction to it, but it was him tricking you.
Right.
Beautiful.
Character driven.
Yeah.
He's
It was-
driving
it was-
character
it was
through color.
character-driven
And the change
color
in that
selection.
character, right, through
And,
the color.
and I mentioned this earlier today, which when we're talking about color, which La La Land does the same thing.
Yeah, I gotta
and does
see
it
that.
beautifully. And basically, what happens is in the beginning, the movie is incredibly vibrant, uses all these brilliant, bold colors, and it's very very diverse in the colors they use. And then as the movie progresses and the characters face decisions that are a little bit less idealistic and a little bit more grown up, the colors start shifting into a more muted palette. The characters start wearing more brown. They start wearing more subdued colors, and basically the entire arc of the story is told through the wardrobe and the color choices of the movie. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It's pretty smart.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's great.
I've been slacking.
It's great.
Yeah, get out there.
Rob,
I
have
haven't
you
either.
seen it?
No.
No. I saw Moonlight.
I haven't seen that either.
What did you think of Moonlight? If
I
we're
haven't seen
talking-
it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet. All right. So number 1, number 2.
I'm missing
Right.
Beauty and the Beast right now.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is my girl's
Shout
birthday
out to
party.
Rob. Shout out to Rob for staying late.
You're
tonight.
sacrificing.
That's what I do. Occasionally.
So Chris, Rob, and Lindsay, I have a special surprise for Chris, and I think our producer is going to go get it right now. So it might take a second, but we've put something together, and Rob has no idea that this is happening. Lindsay has no idea that
No.
this is happening.
I was guessing insomnia.
I
Cookies?
clearly
Yeah.
have no idea this is happening.
Yeah. So while this is happening, because I had to trigger this movement,
This movement.
we need to.
This scares me because I know your mind.
We
and
need to pick
this-
a topic.
First of all, the
and talk-
studio
and
might
talk amongst
burn
ourselves.
down. Are we insured for whatever you're about to pull?
I think so. I don't know. I'm not an underwriter.
Yeah, you haven't looked at the policy.
Yeah. I don't know. So give us a topic to talk about until since you're the king of transitions, Chris?
King of transitions.
Can I give one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
What are the greatest challenges that you face right now as a photographer? What's your biggest obstacle?
Okay, so this is not necessarily a photography obstacle, but a life obstacle,
Go
and
ahead,
that's
that's fine.
time. Time. What do you choose to devote your time to? And the balance between perhaps what you find currently most fulfilling, the instant gratification, as well as the long-term payback for those things. And for me, I'm always trying to figure out, is it best for me to invest more time in creating artistic images for myself and furthering my career in that way, or is it better to invest more of my time in building the business, or is it better? And that's kind of where I'm at.
Life work balance.
And,
Yeah.
and also
And
anyone,
not just life, like work balance. Which part of work?
yeah.
You know?
And also
All right, yeah, yeah.
anyone who says, I don't have time for fill in the blank is just saying, this particular thing is not a
Not
priority
important.
in my life.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's, I don't have time to work out. Well, it's not a priority for you. And that's just, that's the way you got to think about it. It's not about not having time. It's about dictating what your priorities have
Oh
to
no,
be.
when you have 2 kids, you don't have time.
Well, you prioritize your kids.
Kids are
I
your
do,
priority.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Although you're here right now.
I know. It's
Oh.
terrible.
Yikes.
Father of the year. It's all right.
Well, there's going to be one next year. You know.
Well, here's the thing.
Birthdays
A
come every
kid
year.
or a
Here's
father?
here's the thing. No. Here's the thing.
can't it
They're
be
doing a
both?
movie now. I'm going to catch them for dinner. Then we take them all back to the house. They're doing a slumber party. I'm
Oh,
going to have
wow.
them tomorrow morning.
It's
I'm
an
gonna make 'em
extended event.
Chocolate chip waffles, homemade chocolate chip waffles,
Aw.
or pancakes. Either one, whatever they
I would
want.
love to have you make chocolate chip waffles.
I make good ones. All homemade by scratch. Bam. Kids love them.
Sounds excellent.
Are you guys cooks? Do you guys cook? Do you have a favorite thing? You eat
I
out every-
haven't cooked a meal in
Lindsay
at
does not cook.
least 6 years.
Well,
I like to cook, actually.
You're on the road
when I
like
was when I was a
400
teenager.
days
I
of
worked
the
as a
year.
cook in a restaurant.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you did.
I like
Me
to
too.
cook. Yep.
Me too. It was one of my first jobs.
I love cooking on a grill. I don't have a grill where I live, but I do love.
That would cost
I love a grill.
$30,000 a year to have a.
No, you
It
have
would.
to have a yard.
It would,
Yeah,
yeah.
That would cause problems in
I-
my life.
I
not to
actually
have
my,
additional-
my biggest cooking thing right now that I just came up with. I just discovered was the sous vide cooker.
Josh is walking.
Yeah, what's happening
Backwards?
here? He's
Hey,
trying
all
to
right.
conceal it
So
with his
this has
body.
been one of my goals. Like you got some of your goals. I've always wanted to do this, and now I can't do it. So, on behalf of RGG EDU, mostly just Gary, because Rob probably doesn't approve. This is why we didn't tell him. We've gotten you a present.
Oh my
and-
God.
and-
Oh my God. What?
Why?
You can
the
take it. It's for
hell?
you. Chicken.
Can you touch it?
Where were you keeping this?
Chicken?
I don't know. We just got it off Craigslist.
No, you didn't.
What are we doing with this after the podcast?
Josh is gonna take it home and it's gonna lay eggs.
Well, the nice thing is it
We should
kind of
make-
matches the table in terms of tonal qualities.
It's a hen. It lays
yeah,
eggs. It's got
that's-
at least 3 eggs in it. I mean, Rob, you could take it home and have scrambled eggs in the morning.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever.
What happened to the back of its neck?
I don't know.
It's not the healthiest baby.
Seriously, you went out and got a chicken on Craigslist? You're asking me for
I
petty
asked-
cash. I swear to God, I thought you were gonna get weed, and you came back with a chicken. I swear, like, he's getting weed
I'm surprised it's
Come
just
here.
sitting right there.
What's your name?
And not
because it
freaking
doesn't know
out.
what to do.
Yeah. Oh, it's.
Don't jump off
Wow,
the table.
wow.
Give it
poor
a mic.
baby.
Give it a mic. It wants to say something.
Josh, did you pluck
you
the
just
feathers
carry
off the
it?
back of the neck? What's up?
Come here.
This is gonna poop on my new dining room table.
Well,
Isn't
that's
it?
all
Yeah,
right.
totally. That's all right. It's poop. Oh.
Hey, come on.
This table is slick.
on
Oh,
over
don't
here.
fall off. Please don't fall off.
How did you know it's exactly what I wanted?
Right? Oh, it's looking. It's thinking about jumping down.
Wait, did you want a chicken?
No. What am I gonna do with a chicken?
Listen, everybody wants a chicken.
How is he gonna fly with this back to New York? Is what I want to know.
Well, we got him a passport
Southwest
too.
has
So,
pretty
Jo-
liberal
Josh-
check.
You know what? I'm gonna go home right now and I'm gonna get one
got
of
him
my
a
cat
pet.
carriers and I'm
if
gonna
it-
bring it back.
if
And
it
you can
fits,
take
it
the
ships.
chicken
If it
home in a
fits,
cat
it
carrier.
ships.
It's not quite Southwest, but it is the USPS, so we could box it up.
Honest to God, I want to see you try to get this thing on the plane in a cat carrier. That would be like the greatest
I
thing
feel
ever.
like if we got a vest for it,
Oh,
Yeah.
don't jump! Don't jump!
we could make it a service animal.
Is he crying?
I don't know.
Oh!
Oh, damn! It just shit on the table.
That's how he feels.
Didn't I just say a couple minutes ago things went poop in my name?
Josh, you told me it laid eggs. You told me it laid eggs. That's not a fucking egg.
They're chocolate eggs. Have one, Gary. They're chocolate eggs.
In honor of Easter
nervous.
coming up. Yeah.
He's nervous.
Poor baby.
It's thinking about jumping down. It's thinking about jumping down.
This just became a very different video.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Welcome to RGG EDU.
Where if it fits, it ships. Can we use that tagline? I don't
No,
know.
it's
Why not?
copyrighted.
No, it can't be.
FedEx.
If it ships, it fits. Then we'll reverse it. Well, all right. So
Oh.
should we should wrap this up and get out of here. You guys.
that note.
You guys got a flight in the morning.
Right.
I do.
You're out of here.
Yeah.
Well,
got a
actually,
pet
let's.
chicken?
What is your favorite chicken dish? If you were gonna have chicken right now for dinner, what would it be?
Rob, that's insensitive.
I know that's.
You
the
know,
point.
you
That
know,
chicken is
you know
coming
my
over.
answer.
Is there smell to chicken
She heard that question. She's like, I'm not gonna be cordon bleu tonight.
It looks like half
Promise
bird
you.
shit, like it's white, but
Why
then
are
it
you
looks like
studying
half
it?
like rabbit shit. I've never seen like chicken shit up close on a wood table.
Well, I don't know what to say to that.
Nobody's answering my question. What's your favorite chicken dish?
Chicken dish? I don't know.
You're gonna go Indian like tiki masala? or
Tikka
you're
masala
gonna
is
go
great.
like-
Masala is great.
Yeah, masala's good.
Chicken is it's a versatile dish. That's what makes it such a good dish.
What's the key to?
Actually, my
Cooking
favorite
chicken.
though, I love a
It's
curry
really
chicken.
weird to be talking about chicken dishes with a chicken who's trying to decide if she should jump off the edge of the table or
I
not.
think she wants to say something.
You never know what'll happen in St. Louis.
Where you can
Well,
get
the hot dog was invented.
St. Louis, where you can get chickens off Craigslist. Right? I told Josh, I was
How
like,
much-
hey,
how much
can
did we
get a
spend on
chicken?
this
He goes,
chicken?
he looks at me and goes, I will get you a chicken. I will get you a chicken by 3 p.m. today. I was like,
Josh,
go
you
get
were
a chicken.
so fired.
It's all right. No,
I'm
you're,
kidding,
You're
you're
rehired.
not.
You're rehired.
You're not. You
And
just
get
got a
raise.
promotion. You got a chicken on demand.
All right, so
I
back to
feel
the
like
chicken
we
dish. We're
we
going to
really
end on the
nailed
chicken
the
dish.
tone of the dramatic portrait
Yeah,
with this.
Exactly.
Look
We
at the
really,
lighting
you really
on
got the
chicken.
point. You
Seriously,
really got where we're
I
at.
am really
got the-
impressed that
from
you
right
got
here,
a
it's got
chicken
the
that
rim
matches
chicken.
the table perfectly.
Yeah.
Like that.
Or does the table match the chicken?
Yeah. What comes
so weird.
first?
The chicken. on the
Chicken with
table.
the table.
All right. So let's wrap this up. What's next for you guys? What
Yeah.
What are you off to next? What's your next adventure, and what do you want to do next in your career? What's the next big goal?
Oh man,
Yeah, I like those questions.
that's a brutal one. I know that for this year, part of my marketing goals was to reach out to bigger companies and market my cinemagraphs, so my moving photographs.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's more on my photography side. And then on my teaching side, I'm going to work on some longer form courses that people can follow along with, because I think that that's something that I haven't tried before. I'd like to see how people would interact with that when they can really track their progress step by step.
Chris, how about you? What's next? What do you want to
Well,
do?
I have a lot of things coming to fruition right now, which is the book and this, and it's kind of been a culmination of a lot of time.
The chicken's
Sorry.
making noise.
This chicken is
Gary
upstaging
is
me
just-
right now. You're in my shot, chicken.
It's my dream come true. I've always wanted to let a chicken loose on set. I've talked about it on so many shoots. I've always wanted to.
He's crying.
Thank you for letting me realize my dream.
Gary, congratulations on it. You know what? We would ask Gary this question, but we know the answer. His next goal.
Yeah,
or
what's
his,
next
his
for me
dream
is I don't have anything.
That
I'm
was
at the
it.
apex of my life right now. Oh man.
Don't jump, chicken. Don't.
What a
don't
docile chicken. It's like, look at it.
Jump. Whoa.
Easy chicken.
Oh, she is eyeing you.
Yeah.
She
I mean,
turned
she
and
laid
looked at
an
you,
egg right
Lindsay,
now.
and
It
was
was
like,
just-
what the hell just happened to me?
All right. Well,
Nick, are you getting a good close-up of the chicken? Or actually, camera C.
This is taking a turn.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next for you, Chris?
Oh, I don't know.
First of all, our competitors would never do this. Never.
You're right. That's why I'm here. I looked around and I was like,
Tears and tears. He's honestly.
I'm so happy. They're tears of joy.
I know
looked
it's
around, I was
good.
like,
I like that. I like seeing that.
Who would have the gumption? Nay, the cojones.
I love German.
Yeah,
To bring a chicken on
the
set.
gumption, yeah.
Ja,
Oh, the cojones.
The cojones? The chicken? The chicken on set.
Wow.
Well,
Good for you, the archy sheath.
Was Sean giving us the high
Sean was
sign?
giving us the cut it loose.
Okay, well.
Wait, was that a
let me
sign to kill the chicken, or was that a sign to wrap the?
Let me
podcast?
say this. It has been an unbelievable pleasure to have both of you here in the studio. This
been a
last
treat to
week
be
has
here.
been great. We've enjoyed the process of you two making images, watching you interact. It's been great fun, and we're glad to know you. Period.
It was fantastic. And I hope to see you guys again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So to download this podcast and all of our podcasts for free, you can go to rggedupodcast.com. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Google, Stitcher, and on SoundCloud, where it's all for free, and it will always be for free.
And don't forget to take a look at our blog. We'll be posting our greatest chicken recipe.
Yeah. Chicken cordon bleu will be the first one, Rob. You got to figure out how to
Marsala.
make that. Chicken marsala. You're a marsala guy. I'm a barbecue chicken kind of guy.
Okay.
Or, even recently
Fried.
broiled.
God, chicken don't die.
And that's it.
Don't jump. Don't do it.
Now that we have a suicidal chicken in the studio.
Yeah.
Well,
You clearly thought this out. Good work, guys.
thanks again.
Yeah, thanks. Later.
All right, well, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to meet Kenny Chesney for a drink.